Welcome. My name is Sigmund Gordon, and I'm doing a project for our Human Growth and Development class. This particular project can be labeled as the twig bends, so grows the tree. This particular phrase or fable comes from way back in the day. This particular phrase I found, or I am referencing, in the 2017 edition of the Oxford Dictionary of Phrases and Fables. Now, this particular phrase, as the twig bends, so grows the tree, is a phrase that we have been given for our class. And to express this particular phrase, or to explain this particular phrase, I would use the example of a tree. A tree starts off as a small twig, and then it grows into a young tree, and then eventually grows into a mature tree. But before that tree grows into the mature tree, it starts off as a young tree that may need some support. And so we set posts up to keep the young tree from bending, because if the young tree bends, then eventually the tree will bend, and then eventually the tree will fall. Now, the same thing can be said about our young people as far as people in general. You know, we all grow and we all come out very impressionable, needing support. And there are two things that I want to bring out as far as the tree is concerned. It has the DNA to grow, but it also needs the support to grow. So those are the two things that a tree needs. And also the same is important when it comes to humans. We have the DNA to grow, and we need the support to grow. Because if we don't have the DNA or the support to grow, then we'll find ourselves just as that tree, bending and eventually falling. And so this is the case with the person that I'm going to talk about today, which is Devin Patrick Kelly. Now, Devin Patrick Kelly is an individual. He was 26, and he had a lot of things going on in his youth and adolescence. This is just a timeline from his youth and adolescence, his junior high, his high school, and adult life. Kelly showed from his early days, even until now, a history of violence. The events that caused Devin Patrick Kelly to bend was rejection and a non-nurturing environment during his adolescent and junior high years. There have also been reports of mental disabilities in his life also. This is according to CNBC article from 2017. In his early adolescence days, he had been bent because of the rejection that he experienced during his junior high and high school years. It also has been reports that he complained about the medication that he had to take from his fellow classmates. They used to rag him and also belittle him because he was on medication and because he acted differently than they did. This is also a report from the same CNBC 2017 article. Now, what happened is, during these adolescent years, he didn't develop into a person that was viable in society. Because of his DNA and because of his environment, he acquired a personality of aggression. He was a member of the military from the years of 2011 to 2014. He was discharged from the Air Force and court-martialed in 2014, but an incident happened in 2012 where he abused or assaulted his wife and his child. Kelly also was confined to 12 months of isolation, and his rank was reduced because of these activities. And this is from CNBC News 2017 article. He also applied for a gun, and he was rejected from owning a gun because he answered all the questions wrong. He applied for a gun permit and wasn't able to answer the questions in a proper manner, so his gun license was rejected. And the tragic event of his demise was on Sunday, November the 5th, 2017. He went into a church in Texas and killed about 26 people. And this is according to CBS News 2017 article. Now, three things that I want to bring up as far as his, from my psychological or social theories is nature and nurture, the genetic influence, and also his cognitive learning. These are the three things that I want to bring up and want to theorize about Mr. Kelly. Now, in his genetic code, it limited him because of his learning disabilities to interact with people in a positive way, to the degree that caused him to be isolated and aggressive. And this is because of nature or his genetic code. And then he had a lack of nurture from his parents. They were very influent or affluent people, lived in over $1 million. Their home that they lived in was over $1 million. And they spent most of the time working and not nurturing this individual. Again, it goes back to that genetic influence, which was he had a lack of understanding, a lack of maturity, and a lack of ability to grasp and to grow due to his genetic or DNA. And this caused a genetic influence that affected him in a bad way. And again, just to piggyback off of that, we find also his cognitive learning. Usually when a person who has the inability to learn at a certain level, it causes them to be frustrated with the fact that they're not learning at the same pace, that children are pretty much picking on them or calling them names because they're not able to function at the level that the other children are functioning at. And this may cause them to turn to violence to express themselves. And so this was the case with Mr. Kelly. He had a very violent behavior. He had a very violent temper, and he had a history of violence, even in the military. And so we find ourselves at the conclusion of this particular video to where we have made our theoretical or theories concerning Mr. Kelly. We've also given background information concerning Mr. Kelly and his junior high school, and adolescent years. We also brought up the fact that he was not in a nurturing environment because the school system or the school that he attended was full of children who didn't understand his disabilities, and they continued to pick on him. And then once he went home, he was not nurtured because his affluent parents worked a lot and things of that nature. So he found himself in a relationship with his wife and his child, and then that went sour because he abused them, and it's on record as for a CNBC report, and also has been confirmed from the military that this was the case. So we have a history of violence, and then of course the breaking point, because he was bending all those many years. Finally got to the breaking point on November the 5th, 2017, where he went into a church and killed 26 people. So again, we must understand and try our best to nurture children, make a nurturing environment. Also, we have to understand that as that twig bends, if it's not corrected or supported, it will eventually grow crooked and break. This is my video. Have a wonderful day.